Yeah. So it looks like the Democrats are still doing their very best to try to scare black people into voting for Kamala Harris. They're trying to threaten us with racism, the fall of democracy, you know. But I mean, here, let me explain something. You can't scare black people with racism anymore. This is not that generation. The generation that you were able to scare with racism was the generation that had to endure segregation and Jim Crow, born around 19, 20, 30, 40, 50. This is not that generation. They don't have that generational recollection. They don't have they don't remember the trauma that the people that came before them went through. They have no recollection of racial trauma. They don't have any images that were burned into their mind as children to make them fear white folks. They didn't really hear them stories. Their mother is like their grandmother is like 50. Their mama's like 36. You know? So it's a different generation. You can't scare this generation with racism. You don't even have the opportunity to pump these degrading images in their mind, like Sanford and Son and Good Times, and on occasion movies like Roots to remind us of our racist, this country's racist past and the brutality. You can't even feed them with it because they looking at social media. It was a time if a black person wanted to see black people doing things, or listening to black people was something that they wanted to do, they had to listen to the big three media companies, NBC, ABC, CBS. They had to listen to radio stations, which are run by big corporations. They don't have to do that now. All they have to do now is turn on their YouTube app or their Instagram app, and they can hear black people talking all the time. Black people that have an organic following, not a following that has been bought and paid for by a major corporation who is pushing something down their throat. Matter of fact, when you have artists like that pop up, people call them plants. That's why women like Sexy Red are having such a hard time, because she's not organic. She's something that they threw at us and wanted us to take to. But it doesn't work like that because people's interests are different. People look at what they want to look at. So the conversation around how do we get black people afraid enough to vote not for Kamala Harris, but against President Trump, it's not going to work with racism. They just don't have that level of fear anymore. Do you think black people are afraid of white folks? We don't live in rural towns anymore. And see, the reason that those scare tactics by the Ku Klux Klan and all those Night Riders, that stuff worked well because during that time period, black people lived in rural areas. They lived in the South. 15 to 20 people roll up on you and your family in the middle of the night with horses and hoods on their head, shooting and burning crosses and telling you to run out of town. We don't live in places like that anymore. We live in Detroit. We live in Chicago. And you know what they're not going to do? You are not going to have a Klan rally. You're not going to have somebody running up on somebody's street in the middle of the south side of Chicago on Martin Luther King Boulevard with horses and a cross to burn. You're not going to have a bunch of white boys doing that. It's not going to work. So, you know, that's why we were afraid. And even then you had black people that fought back. So it's not even ever that we were afraid. It was just we were afraid for our family. Look, this whole strategy of trying to scare black people into voting for the Democratic Party because of racism, it's not going to work. I mean, what are you going to do to black people collectively that you hadn't done already? You going to put us in slavery? Did that. You going to whip us and beat us? Did that. We survived. You going to lock us up? Did that. We survived. You going to throw dope in the neighborhood? Did that. Survived. What are you going to do? You going to take medical experiments, use experiment on us with medical procedures? Did that too. So our thing is this. We're concerned about money. We want to know who's going to help us get some money. Because racism is not going to do it at this point. You know, no. We concerned about when you're going to get these immigrants up out of here that's eating the cats. That's what they want to know. Somebody type eat the cats in the chat room. Somebody type save the cats in the chat room. That's what they're concerned about. They're concerned about who is getting money from taxpayers' funds, specifically our funds, that are not from this country. That's what black people are concerned about. I saw Angela Rye on the Breakfast Club, and she apparently had an issue with Jill Stein because Jill Stein pointed out to her that she was using these Democratic talking points. These, you only have one or two choices, either vote for one of these two or other. Look, and Jill Stein accurately pointed out that Angela Rye is basically touting, making the same statements that white supremacists have made. You have no choice. It's not in your control. Do what we say do and like it because I said so. And Angela Rye took offense to that. You guys know Angela Rye. She's a little light-skinned little lady. She's been around for a while. And Jill Stein is a white woman who's running for president as an independent candidate. I think she might be a green candidate. But here's the thing. You keep sending these black folks out here to remind us to be afraid of racism, to remind us that we should be afraid of the Republican Party because they're racist. And that's just not going to work. And when you start talking about democracy, you're telling black people that our rights, our rights somehow are going to be lost because Donald Trump is going to be president again. First of all, he was president for 4 years already. We remember that. That wasn't that long ago. It's not like it was 14 years ago. It was 4 years ago. We remember that. And we didn't die. We didn't really lose any rights that we didn't already have. We had to deal with that COVID-19 shut-in, but everybody was shut down. So we weren't in any immediate danger. We weren't targeted. But we remember him. And then on another note, when you start talking about the fall of democracy to black folks, what does that mean? Does that mean we don't have to pay taxes anymore? Because we're not concerned about the right to vote. Okay, some of us don't vote anyway. I vote. Some black people don't vote. Some people don't see it as that important. But you mean the police won't be able to give us traffic tickets anymore because they won't be getting any money? They won't get their paycheck, so they're not going to go to work. What do you mean by democracy? Most black people, most people in America in general don't even know what you mean by democracy. They don't know what you mean by republic. So what does that even mean? Now you're saying democracy is threat. Who are you trying to, do we look like some Benjamin Franklin, George Washington types around here? Or do we look like average everyday people who are trying to make it in this world, who want to have money to be able to take care of their families, who want to know that they live in a safe environment, safe country, safe nation, who want to make sure that people aren't jumping ahead of them, who just showed up at the border and now are being given thousands of dollars in housing stipends, EBT, welfare. You got these people who just got to this country 6 months ago are able to use American taxpayer funds to purchase new houses when you have Americans themselves who can't afford to purchase new houses. You're letting criminals come from these countries walk right up into our country and take over apartment buildings. That's what we're concerned about. We're not concerned about racism. We're not concerned about the threat to democracy. All these things don't matter to us. And I find it insulting that you have these black folks who are so-called educated people who are trying to scare black people, and you have no idea what the average black person is dealing with. Throw all your weak, whack degrees out the window. Everything they taught you in those liberal colleges is outdated because they were basing that information on the generations that came before. This new generation of people, you cannot make them afraid. This new generation of black people, You cannot make them afraid of white folks. Let me explain why. It's real easy to understand. We live in major cities now. As I pointed out before, we're not living in these rural towns where night riders and weirdos with sheets on their head can roll up on us and afraid. We live in major cities now. The other thing is, you trying to tell people that they need to be afraid of Donald Trump and these white boys, and you and on the flip side, you got a dude sitting there with his white baby mama, his sons or daughters. Granddaddy look just like Donald Trump. We live next to each other. We play football, basketball. We go to school with each other. Hell, you got black women looking for white. Hell, look at Kamala Harris. We supposed to be afraid of white women. She got white men. We supposed to be afraid of white men, right? But Kamala Harris got her one. You know what I'm saying? Look at, was it the Jefferson Jackson I forget the Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Jackson. We supposed to be afraid of the white man. But the first black Supreme Court female justice, she got her one. And Clarence Thomas got him a white woman. And so we just supposed to be afraid. I don't know. I think maybe black people think you're hypocritical a little bit, a tiny bit. You know what I'm saying? You want us to be the same, afraid of the same people you sleeping with. You fighting white supremacy, but not in the bedroom. Let me run that back. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. You fighting white supremacy, but not in your bedroom. How authentic should we take you, black Democrats, especially you pundits who are out there? I just don't believe you. We just don't believe you. On top of that, we made different. Somebody typed made different in the chat room. We made different than the people who came before us. We're not afraid like them. What you gonna put us in jail? The jail is full of black folks. We're not afraid of that. Half these dudes are running around here high with their pants sagging and their white girlfriend. Hell no. You want black women to be afraid of white men? They looking for a white man. they right out now looking for a white man right now to knock them up. You understand that? And you want them to be afraid? They are not afraid. You white people better run away. You better run away. These black women are trying to put something on you. These black dudes want to. You want us to be afraid of these people? Shh. If black folks was afraid of white, if black people were afraid of white people, we'd all move back to Africa by now. We all moved down to Haiti. You have a shortage of white people. Clearly, we want to be here. Clearly, we have an understanding. Clearly, what used to be is not what is right now. And I'm tired of you folks citing Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Them brothers, let them go. It's been 60 or 70 years. 6 or 7 decades has passed. Circumstances have changed. They didn't even have iPhones. They didn't even have telephones and the rocket ships and the space exploration. It was a different time. They talk from their perspective. Let's talk about right now. Right now, we're looking at a situation where we have literally folks who are living right next door to each other. But you got folks in both parties trying to get us to be afraid of each other. And the fact that you have black people, disingenuous black people who are operating on behalf of the Democrats, trying to get black people to be afraid of any other group of people, especially white folk who we've been living with for 400 years. On top of that, you got a lot of white people pretending to be white and they got some black in them. You got black people who've integrated into folks from other ethnicities into their families. And so they have white relatives, Latin relatives, Indian relatives. And it's just crazy that you still trying to use these pre-1955 political tactics to get Americans in general to be afraid of each other. And it's just not cool. It's insulting, as a matter of fact. And black people are offended. It's these taxes, Lord. We want to know who's going to help us get these low interest home loans. Who's going to make sure that we have more employment opportunities? That's the same thing every other American wants. We want our part of the American dream. And you trying to distract us with be afraid of racism. The democracy is. You just trying to say that to scare us, and we just not going for it. This is not 1955, family. Y'all need to cut that out. This is not 1955. And a lot of you black people, I'm talking to you entertainers also. A lot of you entertainers who are jumping out there co-signing for Kamala Harris. You don't even know the woman like that. You just somebody sent you, and you thought, well, let me go ahead and be this advocate and make this little money right quick, and then the people forget. We're not going to forget. We're not going to forget the comedians. We're not going to forget the actors, the entertainers. We're not going to forget the Democratic puppets. We're not going to forget these people who are just in your tech. And it's one thing if you said her policies are better for us, but that's not what you're saying. You just want us to be straight up afraid of racism, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're different people. We're a lot more sophisticated than we were. And look, I tell you all the time, I don't care who you vote for. I know who I'm voting for. At least in the federal election, I'm voting for Donald Trump. Why? Not because I like him or don't like him. I like the idea that he is a Republican, and on a federal level, if the Republicans are in charge of the United States Senate, the House, and the president, and hold the president position, my taxes are going to be lower, period. If I'm going to be straight up with you, if Kamala Harris was a Republican, I'd vote for her. Because I know that party is going to make sure my taxes are lower. But see, that's in my interest to do that. It's in my interest because I'm a small business owner, because I'm a homeowner, and I want to be able to keep as much money as I can. Racism, I don't give a damn about that. That doesn't have anything to do with me. It might happen somewhere, and I know it's happening, it's institutional, but I don't care if they run around with their little Confederate flags as long as they don't run up on me. And that's how most black folks feel. Leave me and my family alone with that. The institutional racism, the housing discrimination, the employment discrimination, voter discrimination, all those different things. Look, man, our ancestors fought that battle. Ain't no white boys running around in sheets through the neighborhood, burning down houses and putting crosses up. They're not doing that anymore. Shh. You got a better chance to get killed by a vice lord or a Crip than you will a Ku Klux Klan member. If you want to just keep it 100, that's who more likely is going to take your life, one of these gangsters. So the thing is, I want y'all to just level off, sit back and listen to these fools, take notes, understand that these people, and I mean, the tactics that they're using, I mean, it's just, at this point, it's just demeaning. Stop trying to play us like that, man. We are not those people. We love our ancestors. We appreciate our ancestors. They dealt with what they had to deal with, but things are different now. And I'm not saying racism doesn't exist. I know that, okay? And I'm not even, again, I'm not telling you who to vote for. More likely than not, on the local level, I'm going to vote for some Democrats, a lot of them. But on the national level, I'm going to be voting for Donald Trump. But that doesn't mean that you should do that. You vote for your interests. If you are a police officer, if you are pro-union, you probably need to vote Democrat, because they're going to make sure they take care of the unions. That includes the teachers union, the police union, the firemen's union, all those different things. The workers, yeah, they probably need to vote Democrat. That's something you need to wait. Vote your interests. That's my thing. Vote your interests, and don't let anybody punk you or scare you into voting for somebody out of fear of racism or the fall of democracy, because nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. Maybe democracy will fall, but it ain't going to happen in 4 years. No, because people want to keep their cell phones on. They want their washer and dryer to keep working. They want their electrical grid to keep working. They want to be able to turn their computer on and turn their computer off. And they want to be able to flip their lights on. They want the water to keep running. They want to be able to drop their kids off at the bus stop and the kids to go to school. This is what people want. And to try to sidetrack them by making them be afraid of something that really is an outdated sort of tactic, a political tactic, it's not cool, it's disrespectful. And black folks who are in those upper echelons of politics, man, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should really be ashamed of yourself. We've come so far as a group of people, but you are still trying to play us like we are scared fresh off the plantation folks from the 19th. That's disrespectful to our ancestors, man. But anyway, fam, vote your interest, and don't let these people punk you, man. This is Uncle D.